Good morning. Happy Saturday. I hope you are having a nice sleepy morning. I am here in my pajamas because I'm also having a sleepy morning. It's the second to last day of my spring break in Minneapolis. I'm about to head back to Cambridge to get back into all the schoolwork in addition to the Rise launch in 9 days. I'm so excited. If you want to learn more about joining our private community, check out the link in our bio on Instagram or comment on Facebook. And we are welcoming a limited number of women into our private Rise community where we publish great content similar to these lives, but curated from experts in the field. So you get to hear from all sorts of different women speaking to topics that are really relevant to you in your first 1 to 5 years of career. So all of the adulting things, similar topics to what we've done here on our lives, but much more in depth. Like I said, with experts, we have workbooks and we have accountability programs and mentors to help you make the changes that you want to in your life based on the content. So if you're interested in that, make sure to sign up for the early access list via the link in the bio or the description, because like I said, we're opening enrollment to a small group of women this year in 2019 to add to our community that we started building back in August of 2018. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Okay, to the topic of the day, burnout. This one is really, we're going to go through kind of like the technical things of how to identify it and what you can do to cure it, but I would love to get your thoughts on why millennial and Generation Z women and men, but our generations in particular, are experiencing burnout at a really high degree and like earlier in our careers, I think, than ever before. So instead of having the midlife crisis, a lot of people in their millennial years or in their 20s rather, millennials are experiencing quarter life crises. And that's actually a lot of what I see in my coaching practice, my private practice, are people who are experiencing burnout, women. Really early on. And so I would love to hear kind of why you think this is happening. We're not going to talk a lot about the why here today. We're going to talk more about the what and then the how to treat. But if you have thoughts on like why do you think millennials and Generation Z people are experiencing burnout at higher rates than ever before, please comment, share your thoughts, or send me a message on Instagram. Okay, so here are the signs of burnout. Well, first of all, burnout happens when you experience heightened levels of stress for an extended period of time. So that's really kind of like the general setting of when burnout might happen. And then how can you tell if you are experiencing burnout? So these are the five signs that are the primary signs of burnout. One, exhaustion. You just wake up feeling exhausted. Like you never feel like you have energy. So this is like constant from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to bed. You just feel exhausted, like you could close your eyes and take a nap. Two, isolation. You start to isolate yourself, usually in the effort to get things done. But you kind of push social opportunities away, you push partners away, you just don't feel like you have time for anybody else, so you isolate. Three, you have escape fantasies. So you fantasize about things that would happen that would allow you to not have responsibility. So maybe you fantasize about moving to an isolated island for the rest of your life, or maybe you have darker fantasies about like, you know, or I don't know, not so dark. If my car doesn't start today, I don't have to go to work. Or if I get in a car crash, then I don't have to do work. Like things can get a little bit dark, but you have these fantasies about how to escape from your life. For irritability, you are super irritable. So it's really hard for you to have like emotional bandwidth for people or kind of problems in your life, more irritable than you typically are. And then finally, number five, frequent illness. So you get sick really easily or you feel like you're always sick. And we've talked about this before, but your immune system is attached to your stress levels. And so if you're constantly stressed, your immune system is not going to be able to work as well. And so that is a large reason why you might be sick frequently or all the time if you're experiencing burnout. So do you think that you're experiencing burnout based on those symptoms and signs? Okay, if so, we're going to run through kind of like how you maybe got here, which is going to help you also understand if you are experiencing burnout or if you know someone who's experiencing burnout. So it usually starts with people who have like excessive drive. So people who are really driven to get things done, to achieve their goals, or have a lot of ambition, like really want to get to the top of whatever field that they're in or whatever job that they're working on. You push yourself to work harder. So when things aren't getting done, instead of saying, okay, I need to like recalibrate or change my goals, you just say, no, I'm just going to work harder and make this happen no matter what. You start to neglect your personal care and your personal needs. So you start to just like forego the workouts, forego the food, forego the sleep, and the general self-care practices that you normally would do in the interest of pushing yourself to work harder to get to those, to achieve your ambition. Okay, you displace conflict. So if some sort of conflict happens, you say like, I'll take care of it later. So you don't have the bandwidth, or you don't make time for really taking on the conflict that might arise in your life. You just say, I don't have time for this. So you let things go unresolved, which also can have negative health implications if you're not resolving the stress and conflict in your life. No time for non-work related needs. So again, going back to neglecting personal care needs, this like goes another step further to say you don't have time for your significant other, you don't have time for your family, you don't have time for your pets, you don't have time to do chores around the home. Anything that is a non-work, like it doesn't have to do with your job or your business or whatever you do for work, you don't have time for it. Okay, denial. So this is when you get down into like you are experiencing burnout. You deny. You say, I'm not experiencing burnout, I'm fine. You might withdraw. So if people are trying to tell you, hey, I think you're burned out, you might say, like, you might just avoid talking to them. You might withdraw. You might withdraw from situations that would make you feel bad about your burnout or bad about your level of work. You might have behavior changes. This is when you get really down into like you are experiencing burnout. You might change your behavior to sorry, my live video paused on Instagram. You might change your behavior to kind of like accommodate this new way of being where you are just working all the time. Okay, and then you depersonalize. So you start to project everything onto other people. So you're not able to take on the responsibility of bringing yourself into the situation that you find yourself in. And then the last two, you start to experience the inner emptiness where you don't even feel like um, happy about anything that you're achieving. You just feel really empty inside and you don't necessarily know how you got to where you are. And then so the last two now are depression. You would feel very depressed. You feel like a sense of hopelessness, kind of that inner emptiness amplified into actual like diagnosable depression. And then finally, mental or physical collapse because you are just so exhausted. At a certain point, our bodies cannot handle the level of stress and work that we put onto them. So you will collapse, like you physically won't be able to do the work anymore. And this might happen like 6 months into experiencing burnout. Or for some people, you can really push through and it might be like a couple years or even a couple decades before you really collapse. But the goal is to avoid that point. So if you can identify any of these symptoms or any of these steps that we've gone over so far before you get to that point of collapse, that's the goal, obviously. So you don't collapse, so you don't experience that really extreme level of exhaustion. Okay, and then the four things that are really good to incorporate, if at all possible, if you are starting to notice some of these signs and symptoms, are one, exercise, like regular exercise, even if it's just going for a walk around the block, as much as you can. Make sure you move your body once every single day. And that's really going to help you bring some not only perspective to your ambition, but it's also just going to like physiologically help move your system that might be holding on to stress. Exercise is a natural stress reliever, so you're going to move some of that stress out of your body just by moving. Two, eat a balanced diet as much as you can. Avoid junk food, avoid sugar and like overdoses of caffeine. So even if you are working really hard, try to find ways to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So if you need to order your groceries, or if you need to get a meal delivery service, or if you need to ask your partner to help you make food for yourself, make sure that you're eating well, because when you are pushing yourself to an extreme, you really need to have the fuel so you don't collapse. Okay, 3, practice good sleep habits. Well, this is one that I don't necessarily do very well. um, So make sure you're getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep, if at all possible. And if there are a few days in the week where you don't get enough, give yourself permission on the weekend to nap. Like rest up. If your body is tired, let it rest. And find those opportunities when you don't have to do the next thing, like when you really don't have a deadline. Even if there's other stuff that you could be doing, if your body's tired, just prioritize sleep above pretty much everything else, because that's really the best way for our bodies. Above exercise and above eating good food, like sleep is when we can really relax, restore, and repair. Um, so make that a priority and identify those times when you maybe don't have the next deadline and you just even have a 30-minute window, like on a Saturday by yourself. Just go take a nap as much as you can. And then finally, ask for help. So this again goes back to kind of identifying the stages of going into burnout. You probably are someone who's really ambitious and driven, and you don't want to change your goals to accommodate your human needs. You just want to like achieve the goals. Um, but the thing is, you're not going to be able to like no like if your dream is really big and you really have a huge ambitious goal for yourself in whatever capacity, odds are you aren't going to be able to get there on your own. And the sooner that you ask for help, the sooner you're actually going to be able to achieve that goal. So if you're really goal oriented, you can consider asking for help as literally being smart about getting the thing that you want done, or getting the thing that you want for yourself. So find people who you can ask for help, whether it's people who are going to help you stay accountable to these healthy behaviors of movement and eating and sleeping, or it's someone who's going to help you work on the project that you're working on. Ask somebody who might be able to contribute some of their time or energy or expertise, to get done what you're working on. Or if you're in the workplace, if you're on a team, you could say, hey, I've just been working really long hours and I need to find a way on our team to spread out some of this work. So like load balancing. Um, but make sure to ask for help. And if you identify yourself in any of what we've just shared, I hope that you do ask for help. And I hope that you do at least talk to somebody near to you, and say, hey, I think that I like might be pushing it over the top. And I really want to work on some of these behaviors to prevent burnout and make sure that I don't get to that point of collapse, because I care about my life and I care about getting these goals that I've set for myself achieved in a way that's sustainable. So I don't actually like burn out at the end of all of it. So let me know, are you experiencing burnout? What are you going to do about it? And why do you think our generation in particular is experiencing burnout in such a huge way? All right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.